Hi, my name's Lucinda. Welcome to Loving Literature. Do you feel lost when your friends go on and on about the details of the movie you just saw? Or maybe you're in school and you dread going to English class because you have no idea what to say about the story you've just read. If either of those situations sound familiar, this video series could be for you. In this series, I'll give reading tips for textbooks and stories, their structure, elements, and genres, so that you'll have something to add to the discussions. If you love literature, I hope you'll join us too, because sharing ideas about the stories we love can be fun. In this next set of videos, I'd like to talk about books and movies that have touched me in very deep ways. You've probably experienced that same kind of thing that I'm talking about. You read a story or you see a movie, and for some reason you just can't stop thinking about it. I just read a book like that, Life of Pi by Jan Martel. Perhaps you've seen the movie. It was highly acclaimed, and it's just as compelling as the book. Ever since seeing it, I've wanted to read the book, and I'm happy I finally did. Life of Pi is split into 3 sections. The first part is about Pi's life in Pondicherry, India, with his older brother Rab and his parents, as told to the quote-unquote writer of the book. Throughout this section, we see Pi as an adult living in Canada with his wife and children. The writer tells his impressions of Pi and his home. The reader gets the sense that something extraordinary happened to this man. And that gives us a basis for comparison between who Pi was before the main events of the story and who he becomes as a result of his ordeal. Back in India, Pi tells the writer, his father was a zookeeper. As a result, Pi learned a great deal about how to care for the animals, about their personalities, and their individual habits. Of course, Pi's father impresses upon the boys that even though these animals are caged and they may seem mild-mannered, they are wild. One of the most compelling scenes in this part of the book is when their father demonstrates the true nature of the Bengal tigers. They are probably the most dangerous animals in the zoo. Pi is deeply affected by this display, and even though he loves the animals in the zoo, he is slapped in the face with reality. He gains a new respect for the care and even the danger that his father and the zoo staff are in every day as they care for the animals. As the story goes along, Pi also tells the writer about his fascination with comparing the 3 prominent religions in his hometown. His home reflects this. His family is Hindu, but on a vacation, he meets and has deep conversations with a Catholic priest. He's so impressed with the story of Jesus and what he taught that he begins to practice Christianity in secret. Then back home, he meets a Muslim baker, and their conversations prompt Pi to study Islam as well. One of my favorite scenes happens when the 3 religious leaders converge upon Pi's family at a community celebration and get into an argument about the boys' affiliations. But it was remarkable to me that after the dust clears, Pi's parents surprise him and allow him to continue practicing all 3 religions. Shortly after this, Pi's father announces that he's going to move the family to Canada, which means he must sell the zoo and the animals. This begins the second section of the book. Since most of the animals are bound for either the US or Canada, the family accompanies them on the freighter to be sure they arrive safely. Unfortunately, the freighter's old, and shortly after they leave, they have to put in for repairs in Indonesia. The true beginning of Pi's story is when there is an explosion below decks and the ship sinks. Pi's the only human survivor, but he wonders for how long because he's in a lifeboat in the western Pacific Ocean with a zebra, a female orangutan, a hyena, and Richard Parker, a 450-pound Royal Bengal tiger. How Richard Parker got his name is a funny side story. Of course, it doesn't take long before it's just Pi and Richard Parker in the boat. And Pi must use what he knows to become the alpha animal so he won't become the tiger's next meal. This part of the book was the most compelling for me. Pi and Richard Parker are stranded on the lifeboat for 227 days. That's 7 months. And I couldn't help but wonder what I would do if I were in such a life-threatening situation. Would I be able to do what Pi does in order to survive, or would I give up and die? What the first chapters of the book show us is that Pi is able to survive because of the knowledge that he learned by helping with the zoo animals. It also shows that he has a belief system that supports his will to survive. I was caught up in his thought processes that helped him keep working every day to gather water and to feed himself and Richard Parker. By the time I finished reading the book, it seemed to me that the main questions were these. Who are we when everything is stripped away from us? Is it even possible for anyone else to understand what we learn from these kinds of experiences? Or will people think we're crazy and making up stories? The last section of the book begins when the lifeboat lands in Mexico. Richard Parker takes off without a backward glance. After so much time spent with the tiger, Pi's devastated. He fantasizes about how he could have said goodbye properly. But the real challenges begin when the investigators for the shipping company arrive and want to know details about how the ship sank and how Pi survived on the open sea for so many months. He tells them his story, but the investigators don't believe him. They say they want the truth. Pi answers calmly in this way. You want a story that won't surprise you, that will confirm what you already know, that won't make you see higher or further or differently. You want a flat story, an immobile story. You want dry, yeastless factuality. So Pi tells them another story, a more conventional version. He leaves it up to the men to decide which one they will include in their report. But my question is truth a set of facts? Or is it something that's individual to us, that lives in our very cells and is difficult to express so that others can understand it? What Pi experienced was profound, and he was forever changed by it. So for me, the book was an affirmation of life, even in the face of terrible tragedies and life-threatening situations. It's about how Pi grows in spite of everything he goes through. It's about acknowledging the truth of who he really is and accepting all that happened. It's about realizing that he was never alone, even though his only company was God and a Bengal tiger. If you've read the book or seen the movie, leave a comment below so we can begin a discussion. Thanks for watching this episode of Loving Literature. My name is Lucinda. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next time.